Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Sorry, my brain went there for a second. I hope everyone is doing good on this Monday morning. My brain feels a little bit like, you know, how you feel on Monday morning. It's a new week. Obviously, we've still got the overmath of the game on Saturday. Everyone's still talking about it. Everyone's still trying to decide what's happened, what's going to happen in the future. We will have that conversation on the show today. I will get you guys involved. I'll get you guys' thoughts and all the rest of it. As always, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And please do get involved in the live chat, get involved in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. So, main topic of discussion today is going to be talking a bit about the injury situation at Manchester United. We'll be talking about Lisandro Martinez. We have a big update for you on that one. We will also be talking, of course, about what is going to happen next for Manchester United. Where do we go from here? Some people might say we need a new manager. Some people might say that it's the owners. Some people might say that we've got to give them time. We'll be having that conversation a little bit later on in the show, and I will read out as many of your chats as possible. We've got some other bits as well to get into. Lots and lots to jump into on today's show, but let's start off with this Lisandro Martinez story. This is coming out from, obviously, we know that Lisandro Martinez is injured, right? We know that for a fact. Now, The Athletic have posted a story, it was last night, saying Manchester United defender Lisandro Martinez will now have to have a second operation on a foot injury he previously sustained in April. On Friday, it was confirmed by United that the Argentinian international would be out of action for an extended period due to the aggravation of a foot problem he suffered in a Europa League tie against Sevilla. He is now expected to be out for 3 months. So obviously we knew it was going to be 3 months last week, but we didn't realise that he was going to actually have surgery again on his foot. So he had surgery last season, if anybody remembers. He was out for about 3 months. Obviously got injured in that Europa League tie against Sevilla. Injured his foot, had to have surgery on his foot. I think he might have played 1 or 2 games at the end of last season, didn't he? I can't remember 100%, but I think he came back just in time for the end of the season. Apparently, what the story's actually saying, though, is that apparently he has not been 100%. It says, Lisandro Martinez took painkillers to play in the game against Brighton and Bayern Munich, and further tests on Thursday revealed that his foot fracture has not actually healed. I mean, how... Oh, God. And then it goes on to say that, that he'll have to have a second operation on his broken metatarsal on Monday after suffering a setback in his return from injury. So the general line that's coming out here, right, is that he never actually fully recovered from his foot injury. It was never 100% healed. And for some reason, they got him playing again. I don't understand how this happens in professional football personally. You pay probably doctors, medical people, experts. You probably pay them, tens of thousands of pounds per year to be your professional advice on the well-being of your players. And for some reason, he's been brought back when he's clearly not even able to be brought back. This story literally says that his foot fracture was not healed correctly and that he just started playing again. And I mean, you know what? Looking at it from an outside perspective, looking in, Lisandro Martinez hasn't looked the same player this season. And I was wondering, what's going on with Martinez? Was last season just a one-off? I thought, no, he's a quality player. He's an Argentinian international, World Cup winner. You could tell that there was something off with him. He didn't look like his normal self. And this just all explains it, doesn't it? The fact that we're now hearing that his injury was never actually fully healed. And as a result of bad management of the player from the medical staff, he's now going to be out for another 3 months and has to have more surgery. I mean, it's literally the worst possible thing that you could have for a player, really, innit? Like, I don't understand how they can do this. It just shows the incompetence across the whole behind the scenes, that Erik ten Hag is told, yes, bring Martinez back. He's able to play. There's nothing wrong with him. They send him back in. He plays, 3 or 4 games, and then he's out again. Richie says, sorry, but few players are the same after foot injuries. Rooney, Michael Owen, and others come to mind. I worry about Martinez's long-term future. To be honest with you, Richie, right? I completely agree with you. I do. As soon as I saw this story coming out about him being out for 3 months, I was really concerned. Just remember this, all right? I love Lisandro Martinez. I think he's a quality player. He's probably one of the only, maybe one of 3 players at Manchester United that I think has that real grit, determination, that, will die for Manchester United on the pitch. And that's what we want, and that's what we're lacking at the moment. So just to be very clear, I absolutely love Lisandro Martinez. He's one of my favourite players. But I do agree with you, Richie. I completely do. We only signed him, what was it, May or June last year? Around that sort of time. We've had him for probably probably about 14, 15 months, okay? And within that time, he's going to be injured for 6 or 7 of those months with the same injury happening twice. That is a big, big concern. He's only 24, 25, still very, very young. But I do agree that a lot of players, when they have these serious foot injuries or those specific types of injuries, they never really do look like the same player once they come back. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a concern for me. Florian says this is why Ten Hag wanted to change the medical team. Yeah, we have just got a new doctor in about 2 weeks ago, a new club doctor. So hopefully things start to change in the future. But obviously, we can't undo the past. The past is the past. Kingslayer says we haven't had a club doctor for 7 months last season. Yeah, we haven't. We only just signed a club doctor, which is absolutely crazy. Gary says Ten Hag is at fault. He picked him and knew full well he was carrying an injury. The thing is, Gary, I don't think he did know full well. That's the point here. They've only just discovered it now, which is a bit strange, really, because when you've got all of this, elite level performance, medical equipment, medical staff around you, and they can't identify that the player's still injured. I mean, that's not great, is it? It really doesn't paint a good light on Manchester United, and it just shows you the examples I bring up when people keep saying, oh, you're always blaming the Glazers, or you're always blaming this, you're always blaming that. All of that stems from the top. They keep all of these people in jobs, all of these medics, all of these people have to earn money. So I'm not sat here saying sack everybody. I appreciate that all of these people are relatively normal people, but we can't just be giving jobs to people based on that. We need the best in every area. We need the best doctors, the best scouts, the best nutritionists, the best chefs, the best, everything has to be the best personal trainers. Like everything has to be better than the others, better than the competition, because that's how you create the winning mentality. That's how you create an elite level football club. And at the moment, all of the stories that come out, it's just the same over and over and over again. It's like the doctors don't know that a player's injured. The doctors sign Rasmus Højlund when he's injured. The doctors sign Amrabat when he's injured. The list goes on and on and on and on. I'm not going to blame the injuries specifically on these doctors, because the reason there's so many injuries is because of the load that these players have had to deal with over the last 12 months, with obviously a World Cup in the middle of a season. Manchester United, I think, played the most games out of any team in Europe, got to the FA Cup final, League Cup final, what was the other Europa League, was it the quarter final? We played a lot of games is what I'm getting at. So you can understand why all these injuries have occurred, but it is just very, very frustrating. And it's one of those ones that when you lose a player that important to our team, and now we're having to scrape the barrel at the back. Lindelof, I think, is an okay as a backup player, but I don't think he's good enough to start for Manchester United for me personally. I think he's a good replacement to come on at 70 minutes if you're, I don't know, say Varane's just come back from injury, right? And you need to bring on somebody in the 70th minute when you're already winning. No problem with Victor Lindelof. I think he's more than capable of doing that. But him starting every game for Manchester United, I don't think he's of that level. I really don't. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's on the level of Varane or Martinez. Maguire is an okay player, let's say. Let's just be nice this morning. Maguire is an okay player, yeah? He's not as good as Lindelof, but he's okay. He's nowhere near the level of Martinez and Varane. Johnny Evans, again, is an okay player. Nowhere near the level of Martinez and Varane. It's a massive drop-off between our starting centre-backs and the next ones. We have lots of centre-backs. We have lots of options, but none of the backups are actually that good. When you look at other teams, when you look at Man City, they've got Gvardiol. Obviously, last season they had Laporte as well, Ake, Ruben Dias. There's probably more that I've missed out there. They've got 4 or 5 centre-backs who would get into our first team, in my opinion. And we're kind of scraping the barrel with an injury-prone Rafael Varane and now an injury-prone Lisandro Martinez as our 2 best options. It is a concern. And you know what? This is why we're looking at Antonio Silva from Benfica. If anybody missed the show last week, Fabrizio Romano was saying that Manchester United's number 1 targets for the summer is a defender at this point. It's a centre-back, and it was either Jean-Claire Todibo, Antonio Silva or Tapsoba from Bayern Leverkusen. So it looks like a centre-back is going to be our priority. Richie says, I can see Scott McTominay playing at centre-back. Varane will unfortunately get injured again. I agree with you. I do. Varane gets injured so much. He really, really does. So, yeah, it is a big issue. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Trucker says, Arteta took 3 years to start playing well. He had the backing to get rid of all the players he wanted to. Ten Hag has had 1 year. All these fans wanting Ten Hag out is a joke. Give this man time. I agree. We will talk about that in a minute, but I do agree with you. Everyone who's just joined in the last couple of minutes, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you're new. It doesn't cost any money. It's completely free. Really, really helps the community to grow. So please go and do that quickly now. Hendrik says, why does Ten Hag never change or sub anyone? Kieran, don't be biased. Lindelof did well the entire time Martinez was out. Yeah, as I said, I think Lindelof is a good player, but he's not on the level of Martinez or Varane. And when you saw his heat map against Crystal Palace the other day, he offers something very, very different to what Martinez offers. He doesn't progress the ball forward as well as Martinez does and Varane does. He's more of like a sideways passer type person, Lindelof. He's an okay defender. I think he gets out-muscled a lot in the Premier League. I think he's a little bit weak. He's not very physical. But, you know, I'm just... All my point is that there's a big gap, I think, between our starting centre-backs and our backup ones. You know, most of you don't want Maguire. Most of you didn't want Johnny Evans. And then all the other person that's left is Lindelof, who I think is fine as a backup, but he's not good enough to start every single game for me in the Premier League. But let me know what you guys think about that one. Are you worried about the centre-back situation? If Varane gets injured again, then obviously that will be a big, big issue. It really, really will. Right, let's move over to this other bit then. Let's talk about what next for Manchester United. Where does everybody think we go from here? Let me know in the comment section. I'll read out as many different opinions and stuff as possible. Al says Erik ten Hag seems out of his depth and might have lost the dressing room. Maybe. I'm not going to go as far as saying that yet. I'll stick on maybe on that for the moment. I think the next kind of 3 to 5 games will be the indicator of that. If we lose against Galatasaray and then lose against Brentford, that's going to be a big, big concern. It really, really is. We need to see a big result against Galatasaray tomorrow. Yes, I know we're not going to win the Champions League. Yes, I know we're probably going to even struggle to get out of the group in the Champions League. But at this moment in time, we need to go and beat Galatasaray at home tomorrow. I know that sounds a bit obvious, but we've got Galatasaray and then we've got Brentford on Saturday, then Sheffield United away, and then it's Copenhagen at home, and then Manchester City at home. Like, realistically, if we're going to save our season, we need to win all 5 of those games. Obviously, Man City is going to be near very difficult, but we have to beat Galatasaray at home. We have to beat Brentford at home. You have to beat Sheffield United away, and you have to beat Copenhagen at home. If we win those next 4 games, things could be very, very different by the time we go into that Manchester derby. I think if we lose more than 2 of those games, I would say that we're going to be in big trouble. I mean, we already are in big trouble, but like, we haven't had an overwhelming amount of mainstream media being like Erik ten Hag has to go yet, which is good because I don't think that would be fair. I really don't. He's been here for a year and a bit, right? He won a trophy. He got 3rd. That's better than what Arteta's done in 3 years, really, isn't it? Considering the amount of time he's been here. So for me, I'm glad that, you know, the mainstream media are understanding that the problem isn't as simple as saying get rid of Erik ten Hag. It's, you know, the owners, it's the backroom staff, it's the directors of football, it's the scouts, it's all of the stuff behind the scenes that needs addressing, not just as simple as sack the manager and Manchester United will be winning the treble next season. You know, that's never going to happen. And I'm glad that people are starting to actually realise that there's more to it than just sack the manager and we will bring success. We haven't had success for 10 years. So what does sacking a manager... There isn't a track record, right, of, oh, we sacked Mourinho, we brought in Conte and we won the treble. You know, we haven't done that. We haven't done like what Chelsea do, where they sack a manager, a new manager comes in and then they win the Champions League or they win the Premier League or something like that happens. You know, we haven't done that. We sack a manager, we start a new project. That project lasts 2 or 3 years. Nothing happens. We all get fed up. We sack them and we start again. And it was 6 years. In the last 6 years, we've won 1 trophy, and that was the League Cup in 6 years. I mean, how many trophies could we have won in that time? Premier League, Champions League, League Cup, FA Cup. So what's that? 6 times 4, 6, 12, 18, 24. So in the last 6 years, right, we had the opportunity to win 24 different trophies. We were in 24 different competitions and we only won 1 out of 24. I mean, that's terrible, isn't it? It really, really is. Somebody says, but the directors of football and owners don't pick Marcus Rashford. I mean, you say that though. I'm not directly saying that, you know, Joel Glazer's on the phone to Ten Hag saying you have to pick Rashford, but none of us know what happens behind the scenes, right? We don't know what's in Marcus Rashford's contract. I remember before there was talk that apparently Maguire had something in his contract when he joined saying that he had to become the captain and that he had to be guaranteed X amount of game time and all the rest of it. How do we not know that? Like, I know this is a bit of a stupid example, right? But you know, like when you've played like FIFA or Football Manager and stuff and you give someone a new contract, right? You have to tell them whether they'll be like a starting player, a squad player, a rotation player. I'm sure that happens in football. I don't know to what extent it happens, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, Marcus Rashford, when he signed this new contract, we spoke about this yesterday, he's going to be here till 2028, a 5-year deal, 325 grand a week. Do you think he would have signed that contract if he hadn't have got assurances from Erik ten Hag that he was going to be the starting left winger for Manchester United? I'm almost certain that is the case, right? He's just signed this massive contract. And if anything, right, from the board down, that just then looks bad on Erik ten Hag, because they'll say, Erik, we managed to sign him a new contract. You've said that you wanted the player. Why is he not performing? Why can we not get anything out of him? You know, we've just given him this 5-year deal. We need to make it work. So I honestly do think that there's pressure behind Erik ten Hag to be picking Rashford, because he's on so much money. I mean, how much is 325 grand a year in wages? I mean, it's absolutely incredible amounts of money. It's like eye-watering amounts of money. Let's have a look. So Rashford is paid, he's paid £17 million per season. Do you really think that the board, the Glazers, the directors of football will be happy if Erik ten Hag just starts benching Rashford after they've just given him a massive new contract? I don't think so. His agent won't be happy. Then you'll have Marcus Rashford's agent coming out in the public saying, oh, we just signed a new contract. He's not doing, you know, they're not playing him and all the rest of it. You know what it's like? That's what it's like in football. These players have so much power, which they shouldn't have, okay? And that's where it all needs to change. The player power needs to go. And I think at the moment, the player power is absolutely immense at Manchester United. It really, really is. Let's see what else people say. Zaid says, all I want is a ruthless Erik ten Hag that drops any player who is not performing. If Bruno, Rashford, Casemiro, etc. are not performing, drop them. It's straightforward. I agree. And that's why I'm saying that I feel like there must be something deep underlying going on, whether it's in their contract, whether it's something that means that they have to play them. I don't know. That's just what my opinion of it is, because I don't understand how they can play every single game either. Obviously, maybe Bruno was the same. We don't know, do we? We'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm sure it will all come out in the future. Obviously, what's he called? There was a couple of different people who've come out and spoken about it, wasn't there? Was it, I can't remember his name. The centre-back. Was he Argentinian? Oh, what was his name? He was quite good. Marcus Rojo. Yeah, Marcus Rojo. I remember he came out after he left Manchester United. And a couple of other players came out after they left Manchester United and said that there is favouritism at Eric Bailly as well, I think he did, saying that there is favouritism at Manchester United, and that even if a player isn't playing well, certain players have to be picked. That was what they said, and that was what was coming out from inside the dressing room, that no matter if they do well, they're still going to get picked, and that's just how it is at Manchester United. And that's why I'm saying there must be some deep underlying thing that's going on here, where these players have so much power, the Rashfords, the Brunos, obviously the Maguire and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, where even if they're playing terrible, whether it's because they're on so much money, whether it's because of their profile, whether it's because of the message it will send out if they don't pick them, I don't know. There's so many different angles that you can look at this. Saf says the manager doesn't dictate how much these players get paid. That's down to the agent and the player. And Erik ten Hag cannot be blamed for the inability of the club to give reasonable contracts to players. Exactly, yeah, I completely agree. 110%. And by giving these players these ridiculous wages, it means Erik ten Hag has to play them, right? You can't really be playing some left winger from the youth academy over Marcus Rashford, who's on 325 grand a week on a 5-year contract. Like, just think about that logically. You can't do that. He's an asset worth that amount of money. They've just invested all of this money in his contract. And by doing that, all you're doing is depreciating his value even more by throwing him on the bench, you know? Whereas I guess with like Jadon Sancho, Erik ten Hag would just be like, well, I didn't sign Jadon Sancho. He's not really my problem. Blah, blah, blah. He hasn't performed. You know, he's not showing the right attitude. He's not turning up to training on time. There's a very different thing. Whereas if Rashford's turning up to training, maybe Rashford, right? This is the thing that we don't know. Maybe Rashford is coming out like prime Kylian Mbappe every single training session at Carrington. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, imagine the defence he's going up against. Like, there's no left backs. So he's probably coming up against like Amrabat at left back, Johnny Evans and Maguire as the two centre backs, and Diogo Dalot at right back. I mean, it's not a very good training drill, is it? To be playing against those players in training every single week versus like, you look over at Man City, right? Erling Haaland, every training session's coming up against like Ruben Dias, Gvardiol, Ake. Who else have they got? I can't remember off the top of my head any of the other players, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's a completely different thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if Rashford is like an elite player in training. I really wouldn't, and that's why he gets picked. It then comes to game time. He's probably a bit incompetent just because of how easy he probably finds the training sessions, or how easy it is for him to look good in training sessions. Because Erik ten Hag always says that, you know, he's good in training and all the rest of it. And yeah. Mida says, how can Tottenham show nice and attacking football with new manager, but we have Erik ten Hag second season and then there is no logic or goals in the game? Is it the Glazers' fault? Well, I'll say this, right? Tottenham have a director of football. Let's start with that. Let's compare, okay? So who is Tottenham's director of football? So Tottenham's director of football is this Patrici guy. Let's have a look. Fabio Patrici. Fabio Patrici. So where has he been over the years? Well, my point here is they have a proper director of football. I know that this guy's highly regarded. So it's not Ange Postecoglou picking the teams, is it? Okay, so he's just resigned, actually. So I don't know who their director of football is at the moment, but they have a director of football. They have somebody picking the players for the manager. They have people picking the players to suit what Tottenham's team is. Whereas this summer, it literally just felt like on Football Manager or on FIFA, where you get given budget, and Erik ten Hag was like, "Oh, I like Onana. Let's bring him in. Oh, Mason Mount. Oh, I quite liked him when he was on loan in the Eredivisie. Oh, okay. Who else? Oh, Amrabat. Yeah, I like Amrabat. He was, I had him back in FC Twente 15 years ago. Let's bring in Amrabat. It was just random, wasn't it? It was. Like, I think I gave the transfer window on ingoings like a 4 out of 10, something like that. We bought Rasmus Højlund, who could turn out to be a good player, but we're putting all of our hopes in a player who got, was it 6 goals last season? I don't know the exact amount. I'll have a look because I don't want to be misquoted, but we're putting all of our goal scoring hopes in a player who we've just spent 60, 70 million euros on, right? We've spent all of this money on. And I said from the beginning, he's not going to get us 30 goals in the Premier League. It's never going to happen. I mean, how many has he even got? He hasn't got a single goal in the Premier League yet, has he? So he's got 1 goal in 6 matches so far this season. And that was in the Champions League against Bayern Munich, wasn't it? When we were like 4-1 down or something. So it was kind of already like the game was lost. He got 9 goals in 32 matches last season in the Serie A. What's that? 9, 18, 20. Yeah. So I don't know. The worry for me is like, I think some of the players we've got, like the Højlunds, are players for the future. And this is where we keep going wrong. By sacking the manager, if that's what some people want, what do you do with Rasmus Højlund then? Rasmus Højlund's an Erik ten Hag sign. He's a player that is for the future. Maybe that will be Erik ten Hag's shortcoming. Maybe he should have gone and got somebody who was already fully developed and was just going to walk straight into that team and get him goals. I don't know, Harry Kane, Kolo Muani, etc. There's plenty of players out there who are like 26 plus, and a lot more developed. Emmy says Rasmus Højlund will only score 15 goals. Yeah, I think I said 15 goals at the beginning of the season for Rasmus. I mean, how many games have we played? So he's played 6 games and got 1 goal. I mean, based on that though, that would mean he'd have to play 90 games to get actually no, is that right? 15 goals. I mean, that's probably realistic. I mean, even then though, based on how he's been so far, yeah, I don't know, but he's not getting any chances, so I'm not gonna sit here and badmouth Rasmus Højlund. It's not like he misses a sitter every single game. He gets scraps. He tries to score from scraps, and he scored 1 goal from scraps, and that's it. He's had no real opportunities to score that he's properly missed. He nearly scored against Palace, didn't he? But generally, like, yeah. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat quickly then. Emmy says Anthony will be better than Rashford this season. To be honest, like, I would 100% have Anthony Martial playing on this game on tomorrow. I would. I'd have Anthony Martial. I would bring in Pellistri. I'd bring in Hannibal. I'd bring in Garnacho. I'd bring in all of those youth players. I would. I'd see no reason not to at this point. Maybe you keep Bruno in the team, but yeah, I'm not sure. Carlos says, "What's the solution to our problem?" This is what I think the solution is. Some of you are going to roll your eyes at this. Some of you won't. But the solution for me is we get new owners in. They completely clear house. So they get rid of John Murtagh, Richard Arnold. They get rid of all the scouts. They get rid of everything. They get rid of all of the people from behind the thing, other than the manager. Okay, they bring in all new staff in every area. They invest in Carrington. They invest in a new stadium. They invest in all of the infrastructure that allows these new people, these new coaches, these new directors of football to be able to operate at an elite level. So they invest loads of money in that, in the infrastructure. Okay, they then sit down and they have a proper plan and they look at it. I reckon it needs to be a 5-year plan for me. We look at that. Okay, the first thing that needs to happen is they come in and they need to assess all of the players that we have at the moment, and they need to assess those with Erik ten Hag with a brutal eye on. Okay, and they say, does Marcus Rashford fit your possession-based football? If the answer's no, then they sell him. Does Harry Maguire fit your style of football? If the answer's no, they go and sell him. They don't let the player power win again. They be like Man City. They just be ruthless. They get rid of people. If Erik ten Hag's fallen out with Jadon Sancho, you get rid of him. And that's what has to happen. It has to happen across the whole thing. And I think even if that happens, right, I still think it'll be 3 to 5 years before Manchester United are at the level that all of us as fans expect, you know? I think we're that far away from it. I've said this on the show many, many times. I said this in the summer as well when it looked like the takeover was imminent. I said, look, I know everyone's excited. I know everyone, you know, wants Sheikh Jassim, or some of you do, some of you don't. I know all of you want the Glazers out. That's a given. But even with new owners, regardless of who it is, I reckon it will take 3 to 5 years minimum to undo the mess that's happened over the last 18 years, to get us back in a position where we're operating at an elite level, whether that's by our stadium facilities. You know, I've seen videos on Twitter this morning. The roof's still leaking at Old Trafford. People sat there at the game on Saturday, literally getting soaked underneath a roof because the ceiling's still leaking. The toilets are overflowing. The list goes on and on and on. You know, you got Ronaldo coming out last season saying that the gym facilities haven't been updated since he was here, God knows how, 10 years ago or whatever. And you know what I mean? It's all of these things, and that's what needs to happen. I just think that sacking the manager at this point makes no sense for me. Somebody says, how about Simeone or Blanc? I would look at Nuno. Do you mean Nuno who was at Tottenham? I don't know. I said this yesterday, and I'm gonna stick with this, right? Because I don't think that Erik ten Hag's the problem. I've just given you the reasons why we are where we are. It's been 18 years of rot, 18 years of bad ownership, of bad management, bad purchases. The list goes on and on and on. And unless a new owner comes in, whether that's Sheikh Jassim or Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and they come in and they say, you know what, Erik ten Hag isn't the type of manager for the style of football we want Manchester United to be associated with, then I would support that, because you have to. And that would show that there's an elite decision being made from the top. You know, if they say, right, we want to be, I don't know, a counter-attacking style football. And I'm just giving an example, okay? And the best counter-attacking manager is this manager. We're going to get this manager. Then obviously you have to support that. But I think for what Manchester United want to be, I think for the modern day style of football, I think Erik ten Hag is the right type of manager for that style of football. You know, it's possession based. It's very, you know, you dominate the team, you create lots of opportunities. But the bit we're struggling with is creating the opportunities. Yeah, but let's see what else people are saying. Zaid says, I'm at the point where I now don't care who the owners are. We just need these Glazers and gone. I will be prepared to wait 3 years before we challenge, as long as we see a direction. Exactly that. 100%. And I think that is the reality now. I think we do just have to accept that, like, we're so far off the rest. And I would say that, well, Aston Villa are better than us, Brighton are better than us, Newcastle are better than us, Liverpool are, Arsenal are, Tottenham are, Man City are. Who else? I mean, you'd even argue like people like Brentford are probably on par with us now. Crystal Palace are probably on par with us. Like, we are, if you actually look at it from a footballing perspective, and how we're run, I'd say we're like a relegation team by way of how the operation is, the backroom staff, all the rest of it, right? By way of how we play on the pitch. How we are on the pitch, I'd say we are like a mid-table team now. And we just have to accept that. You know, I know it's frustrating, I know it's upsetting, but this is just the reality. And as I said to you guys yesterday, over the last 5 years, with no trophies, or 6 years since we won the Carabao Cup, I've lost all sense of entitlement as a Manchester United fan. We used to be so spoiled under Sir Alex Ferguson. He was the greatest manager ever. He brought us so much happy memories, so much joy, so much success, and so many good times, right? That we're just so far away from those days now that we just have to accept that this is what Manchester United is now. And I know some people don't want to accept that. Some people say, no, I won't settle for that. And like, that's all good and well. Like, you can say that, and I understand that you expect more and all the rest of it. But what is that expectation based on? What makes you entitled to expect more? We've won 1 trophy in 6 years. With Mourinho, with Ragnick, with Ollie, with, you know, Ten Hag. We've had all of these different managers. We've spent all of this money, and we've only won 1 trophy. So all of that sense of entitlement has got to go out the window. For us to think we're going to challenge to challenge the title and all these things, I think it's just stupid, personally. Brian says, what is the difference with when Sir Alex was the manager and now, because Glazers was the owner in Alex's reign? They were only there for like 1 year when Sir Alex was there, right? And we won 1 trophy. We won 1 Premier League under Sir Alex and the Glazers, and that was right at the end of Sir Alex's reign, okay? And at that point, when Sir Alex left, we needed to have a whole new rethink of what our kind of play style was, what our philosophy was going to be going forward. All we've done since then is live on the past, live on the history, live on we're Manchester United. That's just the classic thing, isn't it? We're Manchester United. We should be beating Crystal Palace. Based on what? What has shown us over the last 18 years that we are Manchester United and we should be beating Crystal Palace? I mean, we've won 1 Carabao Cup in the last 6 years. What makes us entitled to be able to do that? And that's where I say that we went wrong. At that point, The Glazers should have come in. They should have had a whole rethink of everything. They brought in David Moyes. I mean, that just sums it up where it all started. But yeah, that's my take on it. Some of you might like that. Some of you might not like that. I'm Erik ten Hag in at the moment. I don't see any reason why that would change, because I just think that whoever comes in is going to fail personally. Yeah. Yeah, so let's see what else people are saying. Zaid says the downfall of United came when David Gill and Sir Alex Ferguson left and we replaced it with Woodward and Moyes. There you go, exactly. Carlos says we're not acting as the biggest English club. We're the biggest English club from a marketing and fan base perspective, but footballing ways, we're way off being anywhere near the biggest club in England. We're, as I said, we're a mid-table team now, realistically. Mila said, did Spurs wrong by sacking manager and get manager who suits them? Where have they been this year if they had Antonio Conte? I'm not going to compare Conte with Erik ten Hag. Yeah, I'm not going to compare Erik ten Hag with Conte. Like they're completely different types of managers. I'm not sure, Johnny. I don't know what you're talking about, mate. He says they were there in 2005, 8 years. What are you on about? Manchester United have won one Premier League title under the Glazers, unless I'm mistaken, and that was right at the end. That was right at the end of. Let's have a look. All right, that's wrong. I got that wrong. I'm just having a look at how many. Right, let's see what else people are saying. Yeah, so it was. So they've won. So they were there since 2005. I remember when Sir Alex Ferguson. Somebody says we need open heart surgery. Yeah, we do. Well, that's what Ragnick said, wasn't it? We need to completely strip the whole team out. We really, really do. Midas says, what's the difference between Conte and Erik ten Hag? Both are showing ugly and boring football without goals. Yeah, fair. Can't really argue with that, can I? Right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, though, guys. Obviously, I know everyone's feeling pretty deflated at the moment. I get it. Obviously, we will have the press conference reaction today. Erik ten Hag will be speaking to the press ahead of the Galatasaray game tomorrow. We will be live for that. Yeah, I hope everyone tries to have a good day. Let's hope that we go into the game tomorrow, and let's hope that let's hope that we get a victory, because otherwise I think it's going to be pretty sour, isn't it? Please do make sure to smash a like on the video before you go. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I will speak to you all later.